Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I am jumping in with a quick intro before the intro that you're about to see that I recorded earlier today. I was ambitious and I thought that this would be the last episode for this series, but it's not. It's not going to be because I don't have the time to finish everything like I wanted to because I have a fabric frenzy coming up and I have so much to do for that. So this is going to be episode 4. Episode 5 for sure will be the final one, and I just wanted to let you know that because you're going to hear me saying that this is the last episode and that you'll see the quilt on my bed at the end. You're not going to, or maybe did I cut that part out? I don't know. I also mentioned that this will be on eBay, but I did cut out the part saying that it will be up at the end of this video because it's not going to be, because it's not going to be done. So I just wanted to let you know that. Now watch the little bit that I pre-recorded hours ago, and then I'll be right back here and we're going to do some sewing. Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I am back with the final episode of the postage stamp quilt. It might take me a couple of days to record this final episode, but I want to get it down to just this one last episode. I'm so anxious to finish this project. I have loved every moment of it, and I'm going to show you like where I am. And then at the end of this video, you will see it on my bed. Do remember I'm making just the quilt top, not an entire quilt, because I don't care for that part. I like piecing, and that's pretty much it. I have decided that I'm going to put this up as a penny auction on eBay. I'm going to be so sad because I just like the looks of what I've done so far. You guys might not. I hope you do. But it needs to go to a good home, to someone who will finish it into a quilt or at least use the fabric in some way and not just fold it and put away in a closet somewhere. And that is most likely what would happen if I keep it. So I have to just let it go and then continue on with something else. The whole reason I put them on eBay is because I can't hoard all the stuff that I make. I want to give you some numbers before I show you examples of what I've accomplished. So if you're interested, grab a piece of paper and a pencil and jot these down. Once again, I started with a generous 2-inch squares. I like the squares, I think, the best. And then the other method I like, where is it? You know, is when I started with bigger pieces and sewed on both sides. I showed you that. I think that was episode 3. Oh yeah, there's a playlist down below. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the playlist for this series. This is the 4th episode, so you got 3 to catch up on, and then this will make sense. I do still like that with the bigger squares. I did mainly both of those, but now I'm going to finish. I'm going to show you how I actually make a 16 patch block without leaving my sewing machine. And, you know, just to show you how quick and easy it is, if you don't mind sloppy and messy. But I have a little trick. I don't know. I hope I can explain it. So for this demonstration, I am going to be using the little squares. No matter what, if you want to make the same size that I am making, which is going to end up being about a 48-inch wide by 60, and that's just the top. If you need bigger, you can add borders, or you can just make more blocks, but the number of blocks sounds a little bit daunting, but you can do it. It's not that it takes a whole lot of fabric, it just takes a whole lot of different prints to make it as colorful as you can. You're going to need 1,280 of these little suckers. I still suggest a generous 2-inch square so you have wiggle room, especially if you want to trim along the way. Pretty good idea to trim each time you create, you know, the next level block. I just don't have time for that, and I'm going to show you that I don't do it until I'm at the 16 patch block. That's the first time I trim. That equals 324 patches, which equals, where are they? I don't have an available single 16 patch to show you, so I'll show you. It's, you know, half of one of these. I've been putting a lot of stuff together. So let me just fold this. You're going to end up needing 80 16 patches See, I just have this one sewn together because it's ready to become a 64 patch. A 64 patch is my final size block. It is 4 16 patches put together, and it looks like this. And I love it so much. I need 20 of these, and those are going to be 4 across by 5 tall. Now let me tell you trimming sizes. If you're starting with a generous 2-inch or a perfect 2-inch square, that's totally up to you. Once you get to the 4 patch, you want to trim this to 3.5 inches. If you're trimming, I'm not, and I'll show you how I managed to still come up with the right size. I don't know, it's crazy. Then you put 4 of those together for your 16 patch. Once again, I'm going to fold this. This is the first time I trim. This gets trimmed to 6.5. This is trimmed to 12.5 inches. All right, so let me look at some of my pieces and point some things out to you. First of all, let's talk about the little novelty pieces. I wanted to put a whole bunch more of fussy cut pieces in this, but I'm going to do that in another project because I had cut so much fabric and I just wanted to use up what I had. But for instance, see the little panda bears here? You know, that's not too bad. Their images were a little bit big, but see, this is going to get lost in a seam allowance down here. So, you know, just take into consideration your seam allowances. I don't care if there's only a half of a panda face, so I'm okay with that. Another thing, I wish I would have done it on camera. First of all, yes, my intersections aren't matching. I did practice different techniques to get them perfect every time, but it slows me down and it doesn't become fun. So I just continued with my method of not giving a shit about intersections. It's so freeing. But I did notice on one piece, and I fixed it, and I regret that I didn't fix it on camera, because I hope I didn't make that mistake again. But at one point I had noticed that after a piece was put together like this, let's say it's this pink one, I had 2 exact ones matched up to each other. And I was like, how on earth did I do that? Well, I did it because, you know, I'm just sending things through, and a lot of times my mind is a million miles away and I'm not always paying attention. So I had 2 together, and my first thought was to cut down, you know, and take out that whole strip and put in a new strip. But you know what I did, and it was perfect. I just picked the stitches out on each side. Let's say we're talking about the pink, that I need to remove this pink. On each side, down to about almost halfway to the block below it. So then that separated the rows, and then I just picked this out this way. So I was able to just take the little pink block out, and I replaced it. It was so fun. It was like I was doing surgery or something. I replaced it with the block that I wanted, and I first sewed it on to the piece below, and then I, you know, stitched up the sides again. Where am I? And it was perfect. And it's fun to do stuff like that. I don't look at it as like, shit, I have to do that. I look at it as, oh, cool. I have a little project I can do. However, I lost my seam ripper, I don't know, months ago. Why can't I remember to get another one? I just never do. So I have to pick my seams with these. And that's not easy to do when you're using a short thread stitch. But I did it anyway. Now, what else did I want to show you? And I don't know if I can find it. I could look, but I noticed on one of my blocks, and this isn't it, one piece has the wrong side facing up. So I made a boo-boo in that way. Now, if it was a batik fabric, oh yeah, I mixed my fabrics. I have batiks in here. I have India tapestry in here. I have some flannels. I'll show you a flannel. But, you know, a batik, it's hard a lot of times to see right from wrong. And if you don't know the right side from the wrong side, nobody will. Some people think all batiks have identical sides, that, you know, there's no right or wrong. Some do have right or wrong. So just look at it. Pick a side you like. But I had a block, like a regular piece of cotton, and the wrong side is showing. I might see it as I go So let me show you now. This is my flannel. I have 2 flannels in here. I wanted so much to put some of these cute little kittens. I hate doing this. I never know how to point. The cute little kittens, that's flannel. And I also have this blue flannel here. I think I have some of these up for grabs on eBay right now. I don't remember. I have a lot of stuff on eBay, a lot of penny auctions, so always go check. The link is down below. And then you can see another little panda bear. I didn't know, you know, if I'm going to make them all be in one direction, you could have some panda bears like upside down so that your quilt top never has a right way or a wrong way. And I did that with some pieces that were kind of like stripes. I made some going this way, horizontal, some going vertical. Again, I don't know if I can show you that right now. Oh, I have an example right here. This guy, horizontal, this one, vertical. See? I did that on purpose. Let me just keep looking to see if there's anything I want to show you. Again, some really fucked up intersections. And I love it. For instance, here's one, you know, look at this little green block, and look at this one next to it, how tall it is. I can do a better job at that if that's the goal. If the goal is to get the intersections closer together. I'm going to show you this funky thing that I have. I have a piece of black tape on my sewing machine to help me with that. But the thing is, I would rather have them set, you know, offset by a lot in a lot of places than having them try to look perfect but just missing by a little, because I don't know, that's like obviously you know, not being able to connect the intersections. I rather have it look like I purposely staggered everything. I just like it, and I like the looks better too. I really do. I'm still looking for that one that's on the wrong side, but I have a whole bunch of these, and I just like it so much. At this point, I wanted to lay out all the 16 patches on my bed, but last night I just felt like sewing, and I didn't feel like doing that, so I just put a whole bunch together, and I'm hoping that, you know, I can make all these lay out where there's not any 2 actually touching. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to. So this is one of the India tapestry prints that I used, and it's, you know, has more of like a homespun cotton feel to it, and I love that it's part of this. And then there's another one in here, this blue, and I think there's another one with gold. It's not in this, oh yeah, here. And whoops, this one, part of the fabric had more red and part had more gold, so it actually made 2 different color blocks depending on where I cut. And that's another thing, especially like with batiks. Some batiks are variegated, so the colors change. Like this blue one is on the same bolt as this, but it changes, the color changes, so it just gave me a different color on a different part of the fabric. I just love it. Some more little panda bears. They're just so sweet. So let's just switch gears, and I'm going to show you a 16 patch from start to finish. I'm back. Now we're back to evening time. I'm going to make a 16 patch block. I have 16 little squares here, and this is typically the size that I use. It's, let me look, let me measure. I mean, they're just sloppy cuts. See, this is like a little over 2 1/4 by 2 1/2. As long as it's a generous 2-inch block, I'm good. I do like it if they're almost all the same size. I really, you know, screwed up by cutting a bunch of exact 2-inch strips, and I just insisted on using that fabric. And that's what made this quilt top, you know, way more wonky than it would have been. These are almost all about the same size. Now look, I found some fabric that has another little animal. This one's an owl, and I found another piece. Where is it? What is that? I don't even know my animal. Is that a beaver or an otter or something like that? And then there was some that didn't have any animals, but just rocks and grass, and I'm good with that. I was running out of variety, but I still have a lot of things cut, so I didn't want to cut too much. So I was just going through scraps, I mean literal scraps, and seeing what I could find. And I liked this print, and I only had enough for one, and I was like, oh, this is going to be in there, and it's going to be the only piece like this out of, what did I say, 1,280 pieces or whatever it was. I thought that would be cool to have one that's all by itself, and then you can play a game with people when they come over to marvel at the quilt top. Can you find the one piece that has no match? All right, so this is what I do. Ignore this black piece of tape for now. That doesn't come into play until we start putting 4 patches together. I'm just going to take 2 pieces, and I'm just going to do my sending them through. And a new thing that I like, I really find it helpful, is to have a feeder. I just need some more scraps. I'm going to make a bunch of these. I'll show you. It's a feeder if you're starting with it. It's an ender if you're ending with it. I'm using this as both. So it's when you're done, you just pass this through so your needle always is, you know, stopped on fabric. And then when you start up again, you don't have to worry about your top thread coming out. I don't know on newer machines, but, you know, I have to make sure I have it enough pulled so that it doesn't get sucked through and come out. I hate it when that happens. Also, you don't end up having long tails to cut, so it's really a good idea. And I've seen a lot of people do it, and I just never really wanted to bother, but now I bothered. Okay, so let's just send these guys through, 2 at a time. And oh, I've added some more flannels too, some plaid flannels. I think this is a different kind of tapestry, India tapestry. Everything is cotton, but it's just different textures. And now this is where I'm going to tuck this little feeder. Well, it's an ender at this point. And then I just leave it there and snip. See, we can avoid all this stuff, you know, when we have long things to snip. So I like doing that. Now I'm just going to snip these. And now I'm just going to start making some 4 patches. And you can see my blocks are not the same size, even though I was, you know, kind of careful as to, you know, trying to get them about the same size. I don't care. We'll worry about that a little bit later. And I just finger press. I'm not even leaving my machine. And how about we go like that? I like that. Now, sometimes if I want this to be the straight edge and it's uneven, I have no problem. Where are my scissors? You know, I can just trim that just like that. I eyeball it just to get that out of the way. So I want it like this. It's a good idea to use a dark thread for the bobbin, because when I flip this over, how can I explain to you? Okay, on this piece we have the crease. You can see the crease. And on this piece, no matter which way you fold that over, you're going to have black thread, or, I mean, you're going to have your dark thread if you're taking my advice and putting some dark thread. Unless you're using a lot of dark fabrics, then maybe you want the bottom to be a light thread. But I have a dark thread there. When I put these together, this is where I want the intersection to be. I look at it and I put the line of thread, where that crease is. You know, you can be confused like, well, where's the center of this? Because you don't see it, but the center is that line of thread. And I'm having such a hard time showing you. So I look at it like this. I put this piece down, and then I just look at my line of thread and I say, ooh, that's going to go right there, right on that crease. And that's all I care about. And I gave up caring about nesting a long time ago. 2 more. So here's my crease. Okay, a lot of brown going on there. Sometimes I purposely put a bunch of colors next to each other. I don't know. It just depends what I'm in the mood for. So now I'm going to go like this, and I see my black thread here, and that black thread is going on that crease. And when you're actually sitting and doing it, you can see, and it's not hard to do. And this particular cotton is like super lightweight and thin. So it's a perfect way to use it up. Use it up in these, you know, these projects. Oops, I've got to go get my little scrap piece. And look, I ran out of thread somewhere along the way. All the way back here. Not too bad. So, let me wind a bobbin. Hang on. I'm totally not going to bother winding a bobbin. I have another one right here that I can use. So much for my dark thread that I like so much. All right, so let me just finish these two. Now we are going to do the 16 patch, and this is where I start to use this piece of black tape. Yes, if you are into trimming things, some people love the trimming process. I don't. So that's why I do things what might be considered a hard way for others to do it. If you like to trim, at this point you're going to just finger press these guys, bring them over to the iron and give them a nice shot of steam, and then you're going to trim them to 3.5 inches, assuming you are starting with a 2-inch square, which gives you a 1.5 inch square in the center, a finished square, assuming that your intersections are kind of matching. Now, look at my intersection. That's not bad at all. But, you know, these pieces are big. And if you trim them to 3.5, you have to put one line on the line of your mat, and then you're going to measure out from the center 1 3/4 inches, and then trim whatever's left, and 1 3/4 inches this way, and trim whatever's left. See, I don't like to do all that. You don't want to just go and trim it to 3.5. If you're trying to get intersections to match, you need to take an equal amount off each side. Or you could have started with perfect 2-inch squares to begin with. Try it all kinds of ways. Try it every way and do a lot of them. You'll end up finding out what you like to do best. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to match this seam with my black thread, and I'm also going to try to match here. But first I want to match this guy and say, is that kind of there? Is that kind of right? Again, I'm not looking for perfection, but it is. It's kind of right. And that looks okay there too. Now what I'm going to do is, because I want to come out 1 3/4 inches from my sewing line, I have this black tape 1 3/4 inches away from my needle. So how I did that was I just put my ruler and I went 1 3/4 inches, and I just laid my tape down like practically over the ruler just so I would know, and then I just lifted it and took my ruler out. I love electrical tape. So when I sew this now, I'm not judging by my foot. I'm letting this line follow the edge of this black tape on the inside. Now I know that just sounds like a very weird way to do it. It's what works for me. So I'm just going to eyeball that. Let's get it started. See how that, you know, was just ready for me to start sewing because of this little guy? I'm going to just cut him while he's here. So, my God, what is going on? Get out of my way. And I'm just watching this instead of watching my needle. Let's do that to the next one also. Okay, I'm going to try to match up the seam and that black line, and this too. Looks good enough. Putting my black line of stitching along the inside edge of that tape, which is 1 3/4 inches away from the needle. Now you can see I have, you know, way more than a 1/4 inch seam allowance there. So I just cut this now. It's like, it's a weird backward way of trimming. I trim after I sew. I don't know. I know some of you are like, what? What the hell did she just do? And then when I open it up, Look, it's pretty good. Look. And now these, because I start with a 2-inch block, and because I have, you know, a 1/4 inch seam allowance that takes off, every time you sew, that takes off a 1/2 inch, because it's a 1/4 inch of each thing. So my little blocks right now should be coming in at about 1.5 inches in the center. Look at that. Frigging perfect. I don't know if you can see. 1.5 inches and then 1.5 inches. So 1 to 3 right there. So this means all my center blocks are good. The end ones are wider, and that's where I have the wiggle room. So I'm going to put the 16 patch, and then I'm going to explain how that has to be trimmed. So how do I want to put this together? That looks like that will be okay. I do have this little funkiness going on here, so I'm just going to trim that a little bit. I mean, I do eyeball trim while I'm sewing, but I don't get up and use the rotary cutter until I'm done a 16 patch block. All right, same thing. I'm going to try to match this seam, so I see my nice thread line. I'm going to try to match that up to the thread line under it, to the crease, I'm calling it. And that all looks pretty good. Now you can see it's very uneven up here, but that's okay. I'm not going to care about that. I'm just going to, because that's all going to be trimmed after I sew. So my thread line is going to follow the black tape. Let's go. And I like this because, see, my hands were free. I didn't have to worry about thread. And I'm just keeping my eye here, not here. I don't want my fingers to go under there, but I'm all right with it. And once again, I'm going to trim now. I'm going to just take some of that excess off where I just sewed. Well, could have been a tiny little bit better. But you can see that my blocks in the center, those are, you know, they're like, you know, they're all the same size. Nothing like what I have in most of the rest of this quilt top. Because I wasn't doing it this way until the very end. I figured this out. And that's why I said, you have to sew a lot to learn what works for you. People think, oh, I can't do this, and it's just, I'm wasting it. I don't know how to do it. Just keep doing it, and doing it over and over and over again. One woman once said to me something like, yeah, I tried crocheting, and, you know, after an hour I gave up. I was like, oh, you need to crochet an hour every day for 10 years. Then you're going to know how to do it. Doesn't take that long. But you can't give up. You have to just keep practicing and playing with it. So this looks pretty good, but you're going to say, but look at the big squares all around the edges. It doesn't match. This is where now I'm going to actually go press this, and then I'm going to trim it. I'm going to put this line, the center line, on a line on my mat, and then I am going to measure out what is it needs to be this time, because this has to be 6.5, so 3 1/4. So I'm going to put this on the line of my mat, and I'm going to, you know, measure out 3 1/4, and then I'm going to trim, and all that excess will go bye-bye, and then 3 1/4 this way and trim. So let me go do that, and I'll come back and show you. Look how much better that is than my initial attempts at this. My very many attempts at this didn't come out anywhere near as good as this. It's not perfect. You know, there are intersections not matching. But, you know, I do want to know how to do this in a quick way. And this was very quick for me. And it goes much quicker if I'm not, you know, recording and chatting and thinking about stuff. It just really works really fast for me. I know it's a way that most people probably wouldn't want to do it. I think most people probably like to cut perfect little squares to begin with. I'm just not into that. So I show you this way in case you happen to be like me and you just like to slap things together and worry about it later. That's me. Slap it together, worry later. And it works for me, and I'm happy with it, and it's fun, and that's what I want. I don't want to sit down at a sewing machine for hours and hours you know, it takes many hours to make a quilt like this. Who the hell wants to suffer through all that? I don't. So this is really impressive to me. I'm impressed with myself that I came up with a way that worked for me, as opposed to like my early pieces. Let's look again and laugh. I mean, you know, just look at this shit. You know, it's just, I didn't use the tape. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get those inside pieces to look right. And again, it's okay. I mean, I'm throwing it all in this quilt top, but you know, it's surprising how practice just got me to be able to do this after I was always content with just this. Oh, another mistake I had made is I had sewn 2 blocks together inside one of these things. And I just cut the back one out and just left the extra thickness of the seam. All right, I like this a lot, but I even like tinier. And I thought, I'm going to try this with an even smaller starting block. You know, these I started with 2-inch squares, which end up being about 1.5 after the seam allowances. But then I thought I really would like to have just a 1-inch square left. So you need to start with a 1.5-inch block. And I still did it as a generous 1.5-inch block, but I had not perfected my tape method. Look at the difference in size. 16 patch, 16 patch. But look how friggin' cute that is. Can you imagine an entire quilt like that? Oh my God. Now, you know, I didn't do too bad of a job, but, you know, I'm not matching up like right there. My 4 patches are just spot on perfect. You can see those intersections are good in the centers of these 4 patches. Where is it? Right there and there. But where I screwed up was matching up here. And that's just a matter of, like, not paying attention. I don't know. But it's just so cute. So, I don't know. What are we going to do with this guy? I think there will be another postage stamp project in the making. All right, I'm going to stop here. And then what I'm doing is just taking 4 of these guys, and I'm making these guys, threads everywhere, and I need 20 of them. And then these, I really don't have to trim these because these are big enough and they're perfectly trimmed that when I sew them together, I mean, at the very most, it's just a little bit of this going on at the top, and I don't worry about that. I can just put these together. I'm not trimming again, but if you do trim, what did I say? I think it's 12.5 inches that you want to trim it to. I just love it. I love it so much. So the next video, hopefully I will have all of these done and maybe even put together. And I'll just come in with some final things that I learned, and you will actually see this quilt top, and it will also be on eBay at that point. So thank you so much for watching. I know a lot of chatter, and that's what I like. That's how I record. I want to talk about the process. I don't like to just show you how to do something, especially when I do them in such weird ways. I have to explain myself. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I will be back with more soon. Bye.